it is Tristan with Nerdet's Newsstand, and we are back for another Bad Ideas. We are going to talk about crowdfunded comics and what specifically we look for. And this was kind of inspired, I would say, in a little sense, at least on my behalf, from what we've seen coming out of the Rippaverse, which we will talk about on stream. But that's, by the time you're seeing this, this is in the past. And now I'm digging myself in a hole. So, how are you today, Bianca?
I'm doing coolio. How about you?
I am good. That was a hell of an intro. So, crowdfunded comics are very okay. I'm going to say right off the bat, I am very, very selective on what I buy. I am like probably too selective, but the biggest issue I have with crowdfunded comics a lot of the times are the price. And that's why I'm so selective when it comes to it. What about you? Are you selective or are you kind of
Of course, you
more
have to. I
easygoing?
feel like you have to be
Right.
selective. But a lot of the times, whether it gets funded or not, I do see passion
Right.
as a very big thing. But like I've supported enough to know like which are actually being taken seriously. They're like, oh hey, this is what we want to do. Here's our passion. And I'm like, okay, cool. How much of an effort are you going to put in?
Right.
And then you would see them with like no updates at all whatsoever. Like they've only made one update ever. And I'm like, okay, so you're not going to say multiple updates of whether, okay, this is not going as well as we thought. We do have a plan B. I was talking to one of them actually before I funded it. And it was about $70,000 that they wanted to fund for
Oh,
a
wow.
comic. The comic is
A lot.
about a deaf superhero. And
Oh.
during that thing, they had like 15 years of research of how to put it in and how to translate it into a comic book as a comic book hero. I believe the person writing it is also deaf.
Oh,
And
wow.
uh, and I see when I first went on there, I believe it was like $8,000, something like that. And I'm like, okay, you have like what, 15 days left? I can tell you're not going to make it.
Right.
And just talking to people, like interviewing people for comics and stuff and for indies, and then telling me how it all goes and all that stuff really like opened up my eyes, especially with one of my interviews with Madeline.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Especially since she makes her own crowdfunding book on like what you if crowdfunding is right for you and the steps you take and all that stuff. And so because of that, I've actually been recommending a lot of people that book. I've been talking to a lot of people. I'm like, hey, you might not make it, so I recommend like looking at this book to see like what you can do. And some of them were very appreciative of it. And they're like, okay, so this is my first Kickstarter, blah blah blah. I didn't know what to do. I realized I charged too much, blah blah blah. So I did tell them about it, and I got no answer back. And I'm like, I did tell them like, hey, this is not a promotion. I'm just telling you how it is, because when you look at their what's it called, their bio, I
Mhm.
guess, for the entire thing, they're like, we realize 70,000 is very optimistic, but we are also very realistic. And I'm like, 70,000 is not realistic. But that's because this is their first comic book as a company. They have their own company, meaning they should have already a website in the works or have a website already made that they might want to sell their comic in.
Right.
Also, which a lot of people do, it's very normal. They would just crowdfund it first. But I'm like, okay, you only did one update. You have no comments. So on Kickstarter, you can check the person's bio to see if they're connected to like Facebook, but only Facebook, which is kind of weird. So they don't have. I'm not sure if they have a
Wait,
Facebook
why is that
account
weird?
because they don't add like Twitter or Instagram on there. Only Facebook. Like I feel like Kickstarter should be adding multiple social medias for this person, because some people only like Facebook, some people only like Twitter or Instagram or whatever to reach out to the person.
Gotcha. But I'm confused. Okay. Are you saying that if one day I decided to write a comic book, I would have to open up an Instagram and a Twitter and a Facebook? That's a lot of work.
No, no, you can tell them to go to your YouTube channel if you have any questions or concerns. But some people are like, or an email. You can use
Yeah.
email as well. For anybody who wants like a personal one-on-one question with your comic book.
Right.
But this person didn't have a Facebook, connected at least. Maybe they did, but they didn't put it on there. They have a Twitter, which I finally found them, but it is kind of like it's not privated. It's where you have to ask for a request to be followed,
Hmm.
and
Like
usually,
protected or something like that?
yeah, it's not protected where you can't follow at all. It's protected where you have to request to be followed.
Ah,
So I
okay.
did request it, and I didn't get any answer back. And I'm like, okay, you didn't accept or not accept. I mean, you can't tell if they not accepted anyway. Sometimes there's like a time limit, and it just won't go
Right.
through. And like that's already a bad sign. Like you look at the
Yeah.
how many people they follow and how many people follow them, and it's extremely minimal. Like almost nothing. And I'm like, okay, so like I can't find anything else. I don't know if they have Instagram. I don't know if they have a YouTube channel. And I'm like, building an audience is freaking important before you start a
Oh,
Kickstarter.
yeah.
I even asked them, how big is your audience to be doing this? And when they responded to me, they did not give me an answer. Just that we do have a plan B. And I'm like, okay, cool. Let them know of your plan B. Because if
Yeah,
somebody
that's
wants your comic, how are they going to get it? And that failed, by the way. Obviously, they only made like what 18,000 or so on the actual comic book out of 70,000. And I'm like, I
oof.
knew it wasn't gonna make it, but it's like communication is such a big thing. You can't just go into it, and that's been happening so many times. And I'm like, listen, I can tell it's not going to be good. Like
Right.
this is very serious. If you're taking this seriously, then you have to build an audience first. If I see nobody interacting in the comments section, or if I see nobody asking questions, and I'm the only one asking questions, then that looks bad on you.
Yeah.
And that's like one of the things I'm like, okay, this is definitely not backable. Like the premise is interesting, the comic book is interesting, but there's not a lot going on. And not only that, but you have not backed any comic books from or backed anything at all from Kickstarter.
Right.
And this is your first created. So it makes me think like you don't know how this works. So that to me
Yeah.
that's an extremely big thing.
A huge red flag. And that's why I was wondering. I'm like, I would eventually like to do something, but I also have no problem like communicating. Like I have an open email. Anybody can email me anytime. Get a hold of me on TikTok. Get a hold of me on YouTube. I usually am pretty avid about my comments. That's why I was like, wait, do you have to have those things? I get you have to have an audience, but I do think that sometimes that audience doesn't just come from social media like Twitter or Instagram. I do think there's another way to build an audience. And I think that's why I was confused. I'm like, wait, you have to have a Twitter? No. Twitter is a cesspool.
That's just one of the you don't have to have every single social media, but it is important if people want to get in contact with you a lot faster than something like email or a random YouTube comment.
Hey, I'm pretty good. Okay, that's a lie. I was gonna say I'm pretty good with my email, but that's a total fucking lie. That's a total lie. Yeah, I get that. I think another thing that I really look for in crowdfunding is um price. Price is a huge deal to me. And I think it's probably the biggest deal to most people because I don't mind if the product is quality. You know what I mean? Like, but you're this is a crowdfunding platform. You don't actually know unless this is somebody that's had multiple campaigns that it's going to be quality. So for me to invest $25, which is oddly typical, into somebody, I have to know that my money is going to fund this and it's going to something that, could possibly see more campaigns in the future and everything else. I don't mind. Like on a regular basis, I back people like Merc Magazine, which is
Very
Comics Elite.
popular.
Yes. And their products always quality, always on time, always updated. Like their campaign manager, Murphy, does a phenomenal job at getting back to you within hours sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a question, you're going to get it answered. They're going to be there and be able to build upon, like what we're seeing with Drew from Comics Elite. He's working on Born of Blood. And I know this, I know I'm close to the campaign, so it's probably not a good example, like a objective one, but
Biased.
yeah, we all have our biases. Shut up. But I know that he has gone on not only my show, but multiple people's shows and talked about what you can expect in the future, how many issues you can expect. And like when I see people talking about their crowdfunded thing, when they go on different YouTube shows or have different interviews, that to me conveys a lot of passion. You're willing to put your product out there, sink or swim. You're willing to go, look, I just want to create something. I want to make something. And this is why I love it so much. And I think that passion really shows through with them. I also really like his first name's Trevor. I can't remember. He does Helix Project, Area 51 Helix Project. I've had him on before. He does a phenomenal job. Like these books, every time you hear them talk about, the passion shows through. And I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes when I see people get excited about comics, even if I'm not super into the idea, that passion is infectious, and I'll be like, hey, you know what? I kind of want to support it anyway. Is that bad? Like,
no, I've done that many times.
I like I like comics a lot, and I want to see more people into it. So I think that I kind of justify it that way. But there is, besides price, I mean, where do you draw the line when it comes to price?
Shipping. So a lot of the comics I put into my crowdfunding indies videos, a lot of times the times I do, or I ended up accidentally not backing it. A lot when I don't back it, that's because I don't have money. Like the Black Sands comic, it has its own motion comic animation they have on their own YouTube channel, and this was, hey, this is the full series, and I'm like, okay,
that
cool.
is so cool.
And I don't remember if it was like $50 or $80 for the entire thing, and I'm like, that is incredibly cheap, I guess, because they have a lot. But right. I can't afford that right now,
right.
And I don't want to think about the shipping. Though sometimes the shipping will be free because it's near me. Yay! But RIP to the people in the European countries.
Right? That's when it gets really expensive. Like, I don't mind a little bit of shipping. I've actually never came across any that have had free shipping. That's pretty amazing.
What?
Yeah. I don't back as many as you though. Like, and then there's another, like, besides price, and I'll be straight up honest here, I won't back Comicsgate projects.
That is completely understandable.
Like, I'm not trying to be mean, just trying to put it out there. If you have an association with Comicsgate, and I don't mean to judge early, I don't, but I kind of do. Like, I think that's a more personal thing because I've had such run-ins with them. So if you're willing to, like, put your name on something that I've dealt with for a very long time, I'm not going to back you. Like, I'm just not. And there are projects. There was actually one that looked really, really good. It was Gemlock or something, I want to say. Like, the girl had a bikini of gems. That's so fucking cool. Not going to back it.
I've heard of that.
It looked really, really cute. The design was adorable. It was girly, and I love girly, and I'm just like, no. Because to me, the main reason is obviously the run-ins I've had with them, but also at the same time, it's a group of ideologues that I have a lot of disagreements with. And it all started by wanting more for the industry and kind of warped into this whole we became what we hate kind of thing. So I'm just like, I won't. And I know there's probably really good projects out there and I'm probably being judgy, but that's if you have that umbrella under you, I'm not backing it. I'm not. I feel kind of bad about it, but then again I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Though I will say, that is a little bit of a lie. Because I did get Billy Tucci she.
Wait,
I
is
don't
that
know
how
if
it's pronounced?
I don't know. That's what I always
Oh,
thought.
oh, okay.
But other than that, I won't. But I also have been I liked Billy Tucci for a long time. So and I never saw him being something really like a lot of those people like attack other people to get promotion for their comic. I never saw him doing or kind of going into anything like that. So that was the only one I could really make an exception for. Even even to the point of probably missing out on some really good campaigns. And I know this. I can't do it. I can't. I feel like I'm a hypocrite no matter which way I do it. So I say all the time separate art from artist. But I'm not going to support somebody who on a regular basis attacks my channel and stuff. I can't support it.
And that you shouldn't be shamed for. The I have backed Comicsgate before. A lot of it has been going down a lot more lately.
Mhm.
Uh Mostly some I'm like, okay, I don't feel like in good conscience I should actually back you. There's still cool people like Brian,
Oh,
who
that guy that came
even
on before?
Mhm. I actually bought one a long time ago. It was for my brother because he was like, "Wow, it's a gorilla with handguns and it's in the West. That's pretty cool." He never read it, so I never bought any more.
Oh.
But I still support his work. Yeah, I think he's been in one or two videos. I don't remember. Then there's still only a couple of people that I'm pretty cool with. And they seem to like support a lot of other people's work too. It's weird because Comicsgate will they will support a lot of other indies works, but because they're Comicsgate, the people who work in the indies are like, no,
Right.
I don't want you. They'll even make posts sometimes saying, if you're Comicsgate, don't follow me. And then one of them was like, but I love you. I have no problem with you. And they're like, no, don't follow me. And sometimes I'm like, shoot, are they talking about me? Because I still follow some people from Comicsgate. There's
Well, I
some
think when
who,
you bring that umbrella upon yourself, you bring all that stigma too. You bring all that, like, all the things that some of the even if you haven't said it yourself and it sucks, people should be judged individually, and I get that, but you're bringing that stigma on and you're openly welcoming it, and that's where people are, like, super turned off by it.
yeah.
Not that it's okay, but it's human nature to, kind of be like, I don't know," like,
A
when you've
majority of the
got
time, it's not me. It's just that I'm too paranoid, I
right,
guess.
I get that.
But I do follow people who are also anti-Comicsgate too.
Right.
So I'm like, ooh, diversity. And then other people don't have a problem with Comicsgate or anti-Comicsgate following them. It also depends on the person.
Right, and a lot of times it's not even, the people that enjoy the projects, it's the people that have, um, opened their mouth or been, explosively rude or been openly hateful, right? It's not a lot of the people. Some of the people, yeah, of course, but, there's people that still watch my stuff or I interact with that have no problem with Comicsgate, and I have no problem with them either. It just really and that's why I always feel bad because 'cause I'm like, I got to judge people individually, but also at the same time, you know what you're doing when you take on that label. And it can help. It can help them. There's a lot of networking within Comicsgate. I mean, I don't know as much anymore, but I know, they help each other out. They back each other's books and stuff. But if
Unless
you're
there's like some sort of drama, of course.
yeah, my issue, and most people know this, is with people like EVS, with people like John Malin, with people like spreading, like the weirdest thing keeps happening because people are spreading lies within the community. And I've talked about the John Kent stuff with the fake news, or oh my god, they're making this character gay because of ESG. Like, you don't know what you're talking about, and this spread of bullshit information is another reason that taints people to your movement or whatever it is at this point. So no, I don't have any interest in supporting it. I can't. Now there are, like I said, I supported Billy Tucci. Oh, Aaron Lepresky, another one. But it's
Oh yeah,
very few and far between. And then he had Garbage Man come out. Like, come on, those are awesome things.
I could have sworn there was. Never mind. I could have sworn that there was like some recent drama, but I'm like, wait, no, I'm probably just thinking about it. There's like so much drama in Comicsgate, I can't even keep up anymore.
Yeah, like, and it's especially weird if I end up finding out about it because I don't follow any of those people, or get online. So if I'm hearing about it, it's probably a big deal. Like, I just unapologetically won't support a movement that is built with hateful rhetoric at its core. Like, I just can't do it. I can't. Now, if we're talking about, there are a lot of pros that have some good comic books. Like, I love Jimmy Palmiotti. He's done some really good stuff. Have you ever heard of Painkiller Jane?
Yes.
I love it. It's so good. And like, it was so not expensive at all. Like, I guess it is, but I have a collection of different autographs that I have. And if I can add one for like, a couple more bucks, I think that's such a cool thing to add to your crowdfunding, is to do an autograph version of it. I love that. Like, that's one of the things I, on a normal basis, look for when it comes to pros.
Bye. I was saying bye to my dog. She left the room.
Do you ever purchase the autograph ones?
Sometimes. Like I would usually be the person who's like, I don't really find any reason to have it signed at all. Unless like I was trying to sell it or something for like a more
Right.
expensive price. But then I'm like, I don't know. Sometimes they seem just really happy to sign something. So sometimes I'm inclined to say yes now. Unless they charge for it, because sometimes they do. Like, you want to sign one? That's an extra $5.
See? And I'm the other way, where I'm like, I'll pay the extra $5 if it's somebody I love. Like, I got the Painkiller Jane signed. And I'm like, yeah, I got a few of my favorites pro signatures. And I keep them all up together, and that's kind of like, my prize comic books. I've got Jimmy Palmiotti, I've got Joel Jones, I've got Chuck Dixon, I've got Donny Cates. Like, those are things that I collect. So if you're gonna put, a couple extra bucks and I really like you, I'm gonna support it. Like, that's just me. Sometimes I won't even read the fucking book and I'll just get it for a sign. That's so bad. But I like collecting those things.
I gotta read mines. I was just talking to Reese. I'm like, listen, I gotta finish these and I gotta review it. Like, they have freaking 5 books and I only know about like 2 of them. And another one's about to come out soon too for a full trade paperback.
You're not only behind on your reading, you're behind on your watching. We will get you to the dark side watching Stranger Things and The Boys one day. One day.
Well, we just finished Peacemaker, so we can watch The Boys.
Yay! It's so good. It's so
And then I'm
good.
gonna watch Tiger and Bunny. Hopefully he'll be fine with that.
Wait, haven't you already seen that?
Season 2 came out.
Ah, okay. New season. Gotcha. So what about platforms? Where are you on platforms? Do you care what platform it is? Are you specific to one?
Describe platforms. Oh, like Indiegogo or Kickstarter or something like
Mhm.
that? Yeah. No, I'm not picky on which well, I'm not picky on either, but they both have their pros and cons. Like Kickstarter has an app, so I can literally just go on there anytime I want without having to type www. For Indiegogo, I would actually have to go to the freaking website. And
Right.
every single time they give me a feedback survey, they're like, "How? What can we do to make this better?" I write every single time, "Make a freaking app so it's easily accessible." Do you know how annoying it is to like? I might as well bookmark it because like writing it is like annoying.
I've only backed a couple things on Indiegogo, but I don't mind. I do feel like Kickstarter is a lot easier. Um and I like being able to access, I don't know, maybe I'm just not as familiar with Indiegogo because I've only done a couple things over there, but Kickstarter to me seems like their whole setup is a little bit easier.
Yeah, and
Have
I
you
think
ever
that's
used like those, I know there's a couple like Voop or something. Um
Voop.
and then it's something like that. Zoop, or I don't know, it's a new crowdfunding. I've
Yeah,
never
I've
used
heard
it.
of it. I've seen some stuff on there, and I believe that's is that the one that's specifically for comic books?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen it. I'm like, okay, cool. Looks like it's a new site. This looks like it can be really, really good. But there's people who are still complaining, whether they're indies or Comicsgate, that hey, we need more than just like a Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. We need one for specifically comics. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hello, this one just came out. This one's specifically comic books. And the thing is, like, there was a one on there, and it's
Mhm.
still like, it's I believe it's still going on. Something Nights, I believe the name is. And it was like, hey, so this is like 40 something days. I'm like, 40 something days, and I still didn't have enough time to back it.
I hate when they do the backing where it's only 2 weeks. I've noticed Merck has been doing this lately. I hate it cuz you people have a different like pay schedule, right? And I only get paid through YouTube once a month. So it always seems to fall where I can't fucking back something. Like that's a huge prerequisite to me on a normal basis. Do 30-day campaigns. You get a lot more time out there and you get people, and I understand there's reasons to do shorter ones. I get that. But it makes it so much easier. Give people time. Not
I
everybody
do
can back it
think,
first day.
uh, I do think that's like Indiegogo's strength because they can choose to have the campaign go in demand, and they can just say, "Hey, I'm about to close in like a couple weeks." Where like since Kickstarter, you have like a time requirement to buy, but for
Right.
Indiegogo, you can just buy it then and there. You don't have to wait for like a week. Like sometimes there have been times where I got something from Kickstarter and the campaign ended and I had no money in my wallet. And so I'm like,
Oh, I've done
well,
that before.
I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I can't have it. But of course, there's that trick. You have up to 3 days to update
Afterwards.
that payment. So if I can't make it, like I have no money, but I get paid in like less than 3 days, I'm like, okay, I'll purposely back it. So then I would have to redo the payment, but I'll do it in like 1 or 2 days after I get paid.
Yeah, 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 I've done
So I don't have to
I
miss
may
the
have done
campaign.
that once or twice, and I'm like, "Come on, I can make it, I got, like, 2 hours," and I have. Um, yeah, I that does bug me when they do shorter ones just because a lot of times, a lot of these campaigns are word of mouth, right? You do have to go out there and kind of advertise yourself, whether it's going on different YouTube channels or articles or, just spreading the word on your social media. So that gives you a lot more time. I didn't know. I guess I didn't realize that Kickstarter doesn't do in demand type thing.
Welcome back.
Wait, what?
My dog came back.
Oh, Kickstarter doesn't do the in demand type. I didn't know that.
Yeah, sucks.
I did. And you know what? I guess I've never just encountered it, but I do think it's smart to do something like that, because then you've got, people like me that procrastinate to the very last, day, be able to back something while they're still getting stuff around or being sent to the printers or whatever. Like, it makes a lot of sense. And I think maybe some of that is because Kickstarter's main gravy is not comic books. Like, it's a very small percentage of what they do over there. Have you ever seen some of the other stuff that they put out?
Yeah, I've backed them too.
I
I believe there's only one that I backed that was
yeah,
like a scam of some sort.
a scam.
Yes.
What happened? You just got fucked out of your money?
Um, it was more like they weren't helping people with their problems.
Right.
And that's also one of the freaking signs you have to like watch out for, because like for their advertisement or whatever, they have like a little video, right? And on that video, they have a guy speaks perfect English describing
Mhm.
the product. And then you buy the product and you're like, okay, this is not translated well in English. The directions are not, the typos make it hard to understand what you're supposed to do,
Right.
and you kind of accidentally just broke the machine you got.
Oh no.
And then I was like, okay, hey, so no idea what the crap's going on, but not working. And so they're like, okay, did you do this? And I'm like, yeah, I literally only had it for like 48 hours or so. And I had to find out from the comment section of what to
Oh my
actually
god.
do. And I'm like, oh, I broke my own freaking machine because the directions weren't clear. And
That's
like,
fucking ridiculous.
I'm happy I didn't spend a large amount of money. I only spent like $80.
I mean, that's still a decent amount of freaking money.
I know. But it's been such a long time. I'm like not going to be able to get a refund back on that.
Uh,
And on they had an Indiegogo as well. The Indiegogo was shut down, and that's really bad. Somebody wrote in the comment section, "Hey, they had an Indiegogo," because I wanted to see if I can contact them, and yeah, it's shut down for scamming. So because they're shut
oh
down
my
over here,
god.
don't expect them to actually answer you, because I was told to email somebody, and I'm just like, okay. And then I never got back on that email. And people have been saying, hey, I've been emailing, no response. I've been doing this, no response. I've been doing that, no response. And that's why I was saying, like, having at least more than one way to contact you is
Yeah.
extremely important. They also have I'm not sure if they have a YouTube channel. I remember watching their trailer video from the Kickstarter onto that YouTube channel. So I think that's their
Yeah.
YouTube channel. And people were complaining on there too. And I'm like, yo, your thing is bogus. Like, people have like ruined machines. Oh my gosh, there was also this thing. So this was I'm not sure if this was the person's first Kickstarter, but
Right.
they have this notion of, I'm going to do everything by myself. I don't want to get help from anybody. And that just like, no.
Yeah.
There was another one I backed. It's that one was not a scam. It's just that the product is pretty faulty in my opinion. Like,
Oh.
I'm still using the product, but I bought two, and one of them has like melted off
Oh my
or
goodness.
something like that. So like stands, I was like really into stands for like laptops and all that stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't want something bulky because I'm in my room, and it's not going to fit in my room.
Right.
And so I saw this and I'm like, okay, it's small, it's metal. You put it into the back of your laptop. It has an adhesive, and you just click a button and boom, it stands. And I'm like, okay, cool. And they tested it out, the products. And I'm like, okay, so they tested out the products, and like how heavy they can do, because I was actually buying it for my PS3, because my PS3 is extremely old, it's extremely janky. I have to have it at a curved angle, like facing the floor, where the whole game part disc comes in,
Mhm.
for it to actually play video games. Like, that's how bad it is.
Oh my goodness.
And so I bought it. I bought two. And everybody was like, hey, so when's our freaking thing coming? And he's like, okay, here. And I'm like, it's numbers and a plus sign. And I'm like, this is not a tracking number, sir. What is this? And he's like, well, this is what they gave me on the computer. And for like months, I'm like, what the frick is this? And then somebody who actually knew that stuff was like, okay, I know what the problem is. He did it wrong on the freaking whatever documents or Word or Excel thing he was on.
Oh
So
my
like he has
gosh.
to convert it in a way to make it an actual tracking number. And I'm like, oh, okay. So everybody was telling him, hey, just do that. And he's like, okay, how do I do that? And he was
Oh
telling
my
people to do
goodness.
it themselves.
Are you serious?
He was like, I gave you the number, just do it yourself. And I'm like, we can't. You have it. You have the information. We don't know what you're doing. You know,
Oh
I
my
don't have
god.
Excel. And he finally figured out how to a way to do it. Very extremely late, literally after I got my product
Oh
in,
my
and I'm
god.
like, wow. And then he on his update said, "Oh, just so you know, you can also buy these on Amazon."
What?
And everybody was like, "What?" Just like, I'm like, is this Amazon new? Like, you just put it on Amazon? He's like, no, I've always had it on Amazon. And I'm just like,
What?
and everybody was like, why are you promoting it on here? Then he's like, you know, to give more like exposure to it and all that stuff. And I'm just like, you're really bad.
Really
You don't know what you're doing. And like, really, bro? And
Oh
so,
my god.
like I said, I bought two. And people were already commenting saying, listen, the adhesive is not working. And I'm like, what do you mean the adhesive is not working? So when the laptop or whatever you have heats up, the adhesive melts and
Oh
then
my
it falls
god.
off. And I'm just like, oh
What?
my gosh. And so after a while, one of them on my PS3 started melting. Now I have one. For some reason, the one is still staying miraculously. But I was like trying to fit it in a way where it's like it where it wasn't too heated up. So that might have been what was helping. So it's a bit slanted now, but it's still playable. And I'm just like, I'm not buying your products ever again. What you did was a scummy thing to do. And yes, if it was on Amazon, it would have been a lot better. It definitely would have been easier because I look at for stands on Amazon, and honestly, his is a design that I actually like. It's not big,
Right.
it's not bulky, but you definitely need to improve on the design. So not a
Oh my
scam, but not something that worked that well either.
Well, that's why going back a little bit to Comicsgate, I remember backing Red Rooster by Mitch
Oh
Breitweiser.
no.
And then I literally picked it up at Walmart before I ever got my copy. I was like, yeah, fuck you guys. Like this
Are you did you ask for a refund?
no, cuz I don't know. I didn't care that much, but it was such a shitty thing to do. Like it was literally people being able to pick up a copy at Walmart before they get their copy. Like how fucking shady of a person do you have to be? Those people gave you so much money to jumpstart your entire business. And then you're just like, haha, just kidding. Fuck you guys. I'm going to give my product to somebody else. It was terrible. And then
Oh,
that kind of stuff leaves a bad taste in your mouth. What?
you cut off for a few times.
Oh no. Can you hear me now?
So actually, I do hear you now, but I didn't get part of what you said.
No, I was just saying like it was such a crappy thing for them to do. These people gave them so much money to jumpstart their business and they're just like, fuck you guys. We're gonna put our books in Walmart before you ever get your copy. And it just leaves a bad taste in your mouth to ever purchase from them again. I don't even know if they went on to do crowdfunding anymore after that, but it was just like, there's been so many times where you hear those horror stories. I have to be very, very careful. Like, I know I don't back as many as you, but there's a lot of really good stuff out there. And it's a shame because horror stories like that make me very reserved to back stuff. Like, I think that I like superhero comics, obviously, but a lot of the indie stuff I like takes, like when I say indies, I mean like, Image and Dark Horse and Boom and AWA, those studios. Those are different ideas. And that's why I like going to stuff like Kickstarter, because they are different ideas, different types of stuff you wouldn't see from big mega corporation. They can take more chances. They can put a little bit more of what they want, their personal self, into their book. I like that idea. But I've been screwed also. So you really have to sell your book. You really have to do your own advertising and take a look and get your word out there. And that's why I said earlier, I think passion is a big part of it to me, because you can kind of tell when someone's being genuine or they're not when you hear them talk about their product.
Exactly.
I am is there anything story-wise, what do you look for? Is there anything specific, or you just like all different types?
I actually have been trying to do more types of storytelling, which is why I buy so much. I'm like, okay, so I don't usually look at this type of storytelling, but is it a problem? Like, is it because I haven't tried it out? Is it because I don't like it? It's because of I don't usually like how it's written, something like that. So I will like end up like trying it out, that kind of stuff. I have been like trying to see if I can get like novels, more novels, especially in like digital format.
Oh, I love when they sell I love when they sell digital format, because if I'm not completely sold, I can at least get a PDF and see if I might want to back stuff in the future. But there is a lot of that don't sell the digital format. I'm like, just do it. You'll get a
I
lot more
know.
backers.
But it doesn't compare to an actual comic book. It's nothing in sort of money.
Yeah, I get that, because it's usually like $4 or $5. But like, for the people that are reserved, it might bring them back as customers.
I do agree. I do think like digital should be an option always, even if it doesn't bring that much money. The problem is that if people mostly get the digital rather than the physical, then that's something you have to look out for.
Yeah, because then you're not making any money whatsoever.
And not only that, but it's also like once your comic is funded on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, they take a crap ton. They take a crap ton of that money.
I knew they took some. What percent do they take? Do you have any idea?
I actually do not know. I think it depends on how much you make. You made on the what was it? Was it like 20%?
Yeah, probably.
Something like that.
That's a lot of fucking money. I mean,
yeah, which is why you have to make a lot.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why a lot of people like Indiegogo, because of the in-demand thing. So you'll keep racking up that money.
Right.
Like me and Robert were just talking about on the stream that I had of your boy Zach, of his $1 campaign. And it was for I think what was it for? Veterans? No, it's not Veterans Day. What the heck? It was for I forgot what the event was. So his one comic was like $1, and then you have a chance to back all of the ones that you missed, like when the campaign finished. And so that was getting him a lot of money. And I'm like, okay, I think that's a pretty smart thing to do. And you see comments saying, well, I ended up spending like $50 on this $1 campaign.
Right.
And I'm like, but they say it as like a happy thing, not like a sad thing that they spent so much money.
Right, because they're getting a product eventually. I was it for 4th of July, maybe?
Oh, I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I was it Jawbreakers? I seen that he was doing a dollar thing, and I'm like, I still won't support. Like,
Well,
I
I personally don't like his stuff. So
yeah, I'm just like, I'm not a fan, not even for a dollar. Like, not at this point. I can't. Like, when I talk about marketing yourself and getting your name out there, all I ever see come up in my feed from him are like him making fun of Vita Ayala or calling people autistic lesbians, and I'm like,
what's in? I mean, autistic lesbian is a lesbian who's autistic, but what was that a specific person? Was that Vita or?
Yeah, no, it was Danny Lore.
Who the heck is that?
Writing the Teen Titans Multiversity book.
So the name is Danny Lore?
Yeah.
And they're writing the Multiversity book. What's wrong with that?
I don't know.
Oh.
I haven't read issue 2 to be fair, but I don't know.
Oh, issue 2 came out?
Yeah,
that means I won't get it for another week.
I'm like, there's a way to market yourself, and I think his is to that base of like just the hateful people, I guess is the way to put it. So I guess he knows what he's doing. He's kind of playing to his base, but fuck, like you're missing. Comics are already a very niche market, and then you're making it even smaller and smaller and smaller, and that's where I'm just like, no.
It might be getting smaller since what happened recently
with Zach.
Yeah,
like him and Ethan got into it or something. Like,
at least the people who follow him knows what he was really talking about. Because he wrote it on a whole community post and everything, and he was like, did I offend anybody at all? And everybody was like, no. I mean, the way you said it can have people like react that way, definitely, right. But there was nothing wrong with what you said.
The funny thing is when I hear about drama, it usually means it's pretty big. So I got sent that stuff maybe the day after or around that time period, and I'm like, I listened to the video for context, and I'm like, I could see how someone could be offended by this that does stream on a normal basis, because I do. But I'm like, also at the same point, why make it a bigger thing than what it is? Like, he doesn't like streaming, so fucking what? He doesn't like streaming. It's over. That's the whole point. He doesn't feel comfortable with it. Why push somebody out of their comfort zone? Why try to change somebody?
It was more like the people who actually did feel offended was like, oh, you're insulting us that we like the streaming.
I mean, I can see that, because I was like, because he said some stuff like along the lines of like, go do normal shit. And I'm like,
it becomes a hobby, becomes addicting. But he's actually right. Like as soon as I started following you and Saggy, I was actually looking more into these live streams than I was doing stuff for myself. And my brother was like, listen, you watch like way too much live streams. You literally just finished Tristan's and now you're going on to Saggy's. And I'm just like, you right? So now I'm like, okay, I'll get to it when I get to it. So if I miss you or Saggy's, I'll end up looking at them much later and all that stuff. It's like that with videos too. Like I'm like, okay, I need a break from videos.
I also feel like if you enjoy, like, so here's the thing. A lot of it when it comes to me is I'm an introvert. I'm very much so like,
who's not an introvert on YouTube?
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like I'm very antisocial, awkward, and all that stuff. So it helps me break out of my comfort zone, and that's a healthy thing for me. That's a good thing for me to have conversations with normal people and not, keep to myself or get nervous or get anxious, and I still do. Every time I stream, I still get nervous a little bit. But I am able to open up myself more than I ever have in a very long time. That can be healthy for people. It can also be unhealthy if you get addicted to it. So you have to be able to learn to um kind of know your limits. And I think as long
I
as
was
you
like,
know
there's a
your
word for
limit,
that.
yeah, and I was trying to think of the word and I couldn't. Like,
Me
yeah,
neither.
you have to be able, you know yourself, you know if you're overdoing something, you know if you're addicted to something. Like, I can tell you right now, when I was started to get views and I started to see them dip, I'm like, oh god, no, my channel, you know what I mean? And I have to step back. I know my limits. I'm okay with my limits. I still take care of myself to, as much as I did before, because I have issues with myself as it is, period. But as long as you know those limits and you're healthy about it, I think there's a good balance that can be brought into it and it can be a good thing. You know what I mean? Like, it just depends on your outlook towards it.
Yeah, I'm never healthy with anything. So
Like, and
anything
I
I
like,
start is immediately unhealthy.
oh my God. See, and I get addicted a little bit. I do. But I also
I'm
know
addicted
that
to
if I'm
crowdfunding.
I also know that if I'm like, if I'm listening to Saggy, because I generally try to listen to her streams, I can also be picking up, I can also be exercising, I can also be doing these things. So I think you need a healthy balance, even crowdfunding. And that's why I'm so selective. See, I brought that all
That's
around.
why I'm so poor, honestly.
I know. And I do find it kind of ironic that a lot of these people complain about the price of a $4.99 comic and then charge $25. Like,
And what we have to realize is that as a corporation, they have to do stuff like this. Unfortunately, I mean, it used to be like what 40 cents back in the day,
yeah,
but because
inflation is a
stuff
bitch.
happened, they can't afford to do that anymore.
Right.
So they have to change. Not that I
And
liked it.
no, yeah, exactly. And
But
and
so for indies, looking at a lot of them that I follow are like, listen, you spent a lot of time doing this. You hire people, you know. This isn't cheap. You're not a big
right,
corporation. You need the money. Like, charge what you think you should be charging. Don't charge less. Don't say, hey, I want to be nice and do this. No, you need the money. You need to pay the people you hire. This is important, you know.
right.
Don't
They got to be able to
sell
make a
out.
living
Don't
too.
sell out. What?
Don't tell them. I do like that. Like, a lot of those people um are able to pay their artists what they're worth. And I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with spending a little bit extra money if I know it's something that's going to continue and it's something that I'm going to enjoy. Like, even it's a form of entertainment. So you, even if you're talking your form of entertainment is maybe, TV or movies, you're still paying for that service. What you're paying for is something you enjoy. And you can collect, and that's and I enjoy all of those things. It's just there has to be a happy balance.
Exactly.
So is there anything we forgot before we wrap up our crowdfund? And we'll talk about it more tonight. But, well, okay, when you're seeing this last night. But is there anything that we missed?
It's such a very detailed thing to talk
It is.
about. We talked about price. We talked about shipping. We talked about what to look for. Uh, when you were cutting off, you said you liked the superhero genre, yeah?
Yeah.
Yes. So is superhero comics mostly the thing you buy on a Kickstarter or Indiegogo?
Actually, oddly enough, no. I try to find something different. I try to find stories that I wouldn't see from the big two. I try to find something that, like, I really like that educational one that you put on your last indies videos. I try to find the different when it comes to crowdfunding.
I actually do the same. I'm like, okay,
Yeah, I
let me
like the
find something
weird.
different. But yeah, I think like finding more different is a lot more fun. And hey, they
Yeah.
have their own, black labels on there. But now my dad follows me, So I'm just like, I can't put any not safe for work if you're here.
Oh
That's
no,
uncomfortable.
poor Bianca. Oh my goodness.
Because one of the people I follow, she's like, okay, so I'm doing another coloring book, and I'm like, cool. And she's like, there's gonna be two versions. There's gonna be a safe for work and a not safe for work. And I'm like, but the not safe for work looks very pretty. I feel like if you do the safe for work, it's just gonna diminish it, you know?
Right? Exactly.
Art. And that's right. As soon as the Kickstarter is live, I'm going to be promoting it, and that is the Liam Sharp's
Oh
I
yes.
believe it's called Stonehenge or Starhenge. I
Yeah.
literally just looked at it today. So right now that's actually out on Image Comics. So if you want to get the individual issues on Image Comics, you can. But if you want to wait and get the full volume on Kickstarter, then of course you're gonna have to wait like a few months for that, I believe.
Right.
But I'm actually gonna get the volume. I want the full volume, and he's been working on this for like 25 plus years, I believe.
That's one I will be supporting too. I love Liam Sharp. I love what he can do. And he's so uber talented. Like
Uber.
I love when pros do their own thing cuz it kind of shows like what they've been a lot of them get censored by the big two. So I love seeing like their creative whims actually take fledge. And I can't wait for that one. That's why, like I said, there's some really good pros out there that have books. And unfortunately, sometimes they don't do as well. But it's nice to see them outside of their comfort zone.
I will say that if you are backing like smaller indie creators and not like the comic pro indies, one of the Comicsgate reasons why they wanted to switch to indies was because that they have terrible editors, they have terrible art. Oh my gosh, this is a typo. How can you not see that typo? You are going to see a lot of that sometimes on a regular indie comic book. Sometimes there's
Oh
going to be
yeah.
typos. Sometimes the art doesn't look as good as you've seen them promote. Uh, like if you actually end up like rather not backing it or look at the quote unquote thumbnail and then read about the project and the art doesn't look the same, they're just trying to grab your attention.
Right.
And terrible editors, sometimes terrible art and typos. You're going to see that on a regular indie too. That doesn't mean they're not going to be there, which was a
Right.
whole Comicsgate thing. But a lot of the some Comicsgate comic books, whether that was given to me for free or as a gift or something like that, there were still typos, and the
Oh yeah.
art was like, I'm like, listen, I would rather prefer the worst Marvel or DC art than what the heck what you did. Like, and they're like, well, but the story. And I'm like, okay, Marvel and DC sometimes have terrible art but good stories. What does that make them different from you? Like, but you get the pass because you're an indie. Like,
Right.
no, there's
Yeah.
many indies
Doesn't work
that
that way.
do put in the work. You got to put in the work too. Don't just hire anybody. Like what's I can't pronounce her name sometimes. Dan Fan.
Oh yeah. Trisha.
She did have to switch artists. I forgot their whole reason or whatever, but she did say that she was very picky on the artist, and she wanted a more like a womanly figure, especially for her female characters. Looks more like a quote unquote woman, blah blah blah. And I'm like, see, she understands what
Yep.
needs to be done.
I
But
like her stuff too.
sometimes, yeah, but sometimes, unfortunately, they focus too much on the women and they don't focus on the men. Like, I see other guys hyping up this male character, and I'm like, this male character's ugly. Just because he has abs doesn't mean he's good looking. Just
Right?
because he has muscles doesn't mean he's good looking. He's ugly. And I'm not gonna back it. And the story doesn't interest me either. I mean, there have been some times where I'm like, wow, there's so many good looking characters. I'm gonna buy it just for that.
Yeah. I totally get it. I've done the same. Well, kind of. I know Steven Stajek does good work anyway. So like, there are people like him that I'm just like automatic support, like because
Yeah,
I know it's gonna be good.
exactly.
Yeah, I think that I mean there's definitely more we could talk about, but for the basics, yeah, those are pretty much my stipulations. Just don't be an ideologue and, create a good story, have a little passion, and I'm there. I'm game. I'm interested. Keep me
When you said you're
interested and I'll
gay.
keep buying. I'm game. Keep me interested and I'll keep buying from you.
Yes.
Exactly. All right, guys, make sure you check out Bianca's channel. She does often do a lot with the indies. Now has
Mhm.
people on from the indies. And definitely promotes and is willing to help promote. So definitely check out her channel. It will be in the description and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.